Hello everyone and welcome back to Orange Studios. I am Intriga, and in today's tutorial we are going to look at how to creatively handle some lengthy theme names. Especially if you are someone who does designs for churches, you would know that this is not something strange at all. You would have names like God Elohim, He who was and is to come, and you are supposed to put this on the flyer with other information, other details, and it can be a headache. So I was handling a project and I felt like, no, instead of just doing this, let me put it in a tutorial form. So I've made some adjustments to the name so it doesn't trace back to the original client. But this is how far I've come, and I'm going to start all over. So don't worry, I'm going to start from scratch. You see how I've created the background so far, how I've dealt with the theme and the name and arrangement and all that. Let's jump in. Alright, so here we are. We've created a new document and we are about to get rolling. So the first thing I did, or first thing you can do, is to create a shape, give it a color fill, and you can choose whichever color you want, depending on which theme you're working on and what works with it. In this design you can see that we are working around something like fire. We are working around a fire theme, something hot, something there and about. So we want to stick to red. The next thing we are going to do is to drop in an image I have here. Where did I have it? It's somewhere here. So I'm dropping the image here and I'm going to enlarge it a little bit more. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to add some filters to it. I want to add some effects to it. So I want to blur it so it doesn't stand out too loud. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for something of this kind. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, and bear in mind we went to filter, we selected blur, then we chose guys on blur. That's easy. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to try and erase some parts of this section. I don't want to do a permanent erase. For instance, I could use the eraser tool, and then first of all I have to rasterize the layer. So I do so and increase the brush size. The eraser tool has a shortcut E, but you can just come over here, click and hold to have this option. Select the eraser tool and use the open or close brackets to either increase or reduce the size of brush. So clean, and it's permanently gone. I can't readjust unless I do I use the undo key to reverse the action. But what if I've done about 20 or 100 actions? Photoshop can only recover as much as you allow it, and I'm not sure I've done that. And so I would Ctrl Z to undo. I would rather apply a layer mask here and then use the brush tool. So B is the shortcut to bring out the brush tool. You make sure your foreground, your background color is set to black and white. Black erases, white restores. So let me just try something for us to see. Let me increase the opacity to 100. Now, this is the damage I've done. To restore this, I may not necessarily have to go to Ctrl Z so that I undo all the action, but I want to just restore part of it. Simple. X to toggle between the black and the white key. So press on the X key while you toggle between it. So if you pay attention here, you realize that it's moving from black to white. The foreground changes to either black or white depending on how much, or let me put it this way, depending on what the foreground color used to be. When you press X, it changes. So I bring it to white and reduce the opacity. So now I can restore some of the parts I erased without necessarily using the undo key. I want to erase some parts, so let's just do this, and there we go. Alright, so I've spoken enough already, and from hence I'm just going to do a quick one so that the tutorial becomes as short as possible. So the next thing I'm going to do is to create an ellipse and then add some more color to it. So select the ellipse tool, create an ellipse, V to bring out the move tool, that's a shortcut. And then we can change this to a bright color here. We can also pick this, which I've already set up here because I was working on this. Now let's move. And we are now going to apply some Gaussian blur to this too. So blur, Gaussian blur. Yes, convert to smart object. Now you do that because quick one, not to talk too much. If I want to edit the color, I can easily come over here, change this to white, Control S to save this action, and it will reflect here. So that's why you have to change it to a smart object. Undo. Okay, so let's close this, and I'm going to change this blend mode to overlay. Let's see, I saw something nice here. Nice. So we are going to change it to screen and take it, reduce the opacity to, let's say, 60, 70, thereabouts. This is okay. Okay, so now I'm going to group all of this and name it the background. So select all of this. You can press on Shift while this is selected and click on the last one. You have all selected. Control J to put them in a group. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to write out the theme, and I'll activate the title to do that, obviously, and I'll write out the word God. Now the word God, I'm going to use a font called Glide, Glide. Sorry. The next word is Elohim, and for this I'm going to use the font Creation. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. Now let's change the font color to something brighter. Let's say something more like this. Let's move up this, so this is okay. Now we are going to add a drop down shadow to this. The reason why we are adding the drop down shadow is so that we can have it stand out from the text. So now we are going to wrap the other text, the other remaining text. Remember, it is God Elohim, He who was, is, and is forevermore. So we're going to wrap up these words in a circle so that we have it around the text, and it will look simpler and yet as artistic. So let's move on. The first thing we're going to do is to create a shape. We're going to create a circle this time around the text we have here. So press and hold on one point and then drag to have your circle drawn. But you can just hold on Shift so that you have a more uniform circle drawn, a perfect circle drawn. Now we are going to hit on the text tool, the shortcut T, or you select, and then type out the words. Now to align it so that this word begins here and that this word ends here, I'm going to use the direct select tool or the path select tool, and I'm going to shift this way until I have it here. Okay, so now let me increase the spacing a little more until it's enough for me. Let's change the text to white. Okay, so now the letter J in the God doesn't look complete for me, so to fix that, I have to first of all convert this to a smart object. But if you are not sure about what you are doing, it's advised, just duplicate it, Ctrl J to duplicate it first, turn one off by clicking on the eye, and then right click to convert to shape. Convert to shape. Now you do that because if you have some mistakes here, you can always fall back on this as a backup. Now let's use the direct select tool to just extend the J a little so that it covers the space that is left here. To do that, yes, the direct select tool, not the path selection tool. And then you select these anchor points and then just use your left or right navigation to key to move it towards the end. So this is just okay. So select and drag to give it more care so that it looks perfect. So there we go, we fixed the issue with the J. There's one more thing, there was a flame on top of the O, and we have it here in our vector file, the logo for the client. So we are going to drop it here and just have some few effects. Let's take it over the J, the God, and enlarge it just a little more. Control T to bring out the transform. Now we want to clean these sides of the white, and so just select the God converter to shape, and then apply a layer mask. Once again, with the brush tool, we want to clean some parts that we do not want. So it's simple. Hit the key B to bring out the brush tool. Press and hold on the control key, and then take your mouse over to this file, which is this one, so that we can create a path around the text. So this is what we wanted. We wanted this path created. So just increase the opacity and then erase. Control D to deselect our selection, and then zoom in. Use the closed or open bracket key to increase or reduce the size of the brush. Let's move the hardness to 100. And change the fill to nothing. Now move over to the stroke and give it a fill. Change this to say 7. Okay, let's make it, let's say 10. Perfect. Now let's apply a layer mask to this. Bring out the brush tool and erase. Now let's put all of this in a group and call it theme or title, however you want to call it. Now I want to add some textures and effects to it. Let's start off with a little texture to the background. Now let's pick something here. Let me use this. Yeah, I know it goes a little off, but it will work. And let's change the blend mode to overlay. Perfect. Now let's apply again a layer mask. Hit B to bring out the brush tool. Let's make sure the hardness is set to 0. And then we can erase some parts. Make sure the foreground or the foreground color is set to black. And then erase some aspect. Let's reduce the opacity to say 70. Now let's add some effects to the background. So we are going to use this. Let's increase the size. We want to change the blend mode so that the dark portions goes off while the light versions or the lighter aspect of the image stays on. To do that, we want to use these sides of blend modes. These sides make the light ones go off and the dark ones will stay on, and then these ones will make the dark ones go off while the light ones will stay on. So we are going to use linear dodge. Yes, this is okay. Now let's apply layer mask once again. Perfect. That's not enough. We want to add more. So this is here. Let's drop this here and change the blend mode. I'm going to add a little more textures to it, and we're going to use this image. Again, let's take it to the background, just about this, and let's change it to luminous. Now let's reduce the opacity to somewhere here. This is just about okay. And now let's apply some Gaussian blur to it. So blur, Gaussian blur, and reduce the radius. This is just okay. Okay, so now let's drop in the logo. Select the logo and drop in. And as usual, you can use your logo. This is the logo I have around. It's for Nanekia. You can check her out on YouTube. She's Nanekia Music, and you love her music. She's a powerful woman of God. Let's apply some color overlay. Yes, white is just what we wanted. With the present, I'm going to use this font and enlarge it just a little bit and increase the spacing. Yeah, this is okay. Let's take it out, group this, call it the logo. Let's make sure it's centered. And first of all, let's just make sure everything in here is centered. So select all, select the background, and align to center. Perfect. So now we can move this up a little bit. Now to add the images, the pictures of the people who are going to be at the program, I have these images open up here, and I'm going to drag and drop them. Let's increase the radius of the edges. We are using the rounded rectangle, so I want to have some more curved out shape here. We are going to change this to this color. Perfect. And then we are going to duplicate this. So press and hold on the Alt key, drag to duplicate, and then drop. Make sure they are all aligned properly, so they sit in the same place or they are centered. And yes, that's okay. So now we want to drop the images in there, and after which we would align them properly. If you want to have the 3D effect where it looks like the image is coming through the shape and moving out of the shape, as in a region around the head, it's simple. We would, as we've just applied the layer marks over here, let's see which shape it is. Is this? So we would press and hold on the Control key, take our mouse over this shape and click to have the selection done. Then we can now select this. Make sure we invert the selection so that the selection will rather select these areas. Now bring out the brush tool and erase. So let's raise the opacity high and erase. So you realize that he is in the box, yet he's coming out of the box. And that's the effect we want to do. And after you've added the text, there's nothing much more to do. This is what we have. I don't know if you can see, but the texture is here, and it adds some little bit of drama to the artwork. So we have God, the flame, Elohim, he who was and is to come forevermore. Nanekia music. Yes, follow Nanekia music on YouTube. You can find Nanekia music on YouTube and you'll be blessed. And just a quick and little disclaimer, these men of God have nothing to do with this tutorial. Their images have just been used for educational purposes and they are in no way associated to the contents of this flyer or this tutorial. Okay, so there we go. This brings us to the end of today's tutorial. I hope it was very helpful. If it was, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed to this channel. And if you have any question, kindly leave that in the comment section and I'll respond. Have a good time.